Military surplus rifles for homesteading are hot right now, and we're going to show you the best ones, so buckle up! Hi everybody, welcome to LocaCarnivore. Glad you could join us. Well, today we're talking about military surplus, MIL-SURP for short, rifles for homesteading, and they are hot right now. And I'll tell you what, we're going to show you the best one at the end of the video, so make sure you stay with us all the way through, okay? But in a nutshell, a military surplus rifle is a service rifle that was used by a military organization somewhere around the world at some point in time that was eventually replaced by a newer, supposedly better model. And those particular service rifles that were replaced were gathered up and then sold to the civilian market, and now they're available for you to purchase. Now, why would you want one for homesteading? Well, there are several reasons. First of all, they represent a pretty good value, with some exceptions of some very collectible ones. Military surplus rifles are still, in the main, less expensive than more modern counterparts. Say, if you took a Mosin Nagant or an Enfield or something like that, or a Hugo Mauser, and compared that to an AR-15 with all the bells and whistles from a high-end maker like Daniel Defense or somebody like that, they're still far less expensive than these kind of weapons. We need to spend our money wisely, and military surplus rifles, again, they offer that value. Now, another thing that offers value is giving us a big like on our video. We'd appreciate your help on that. We want you on the LocaCarnivore team, so please subscribe, and don't forget to hit that notification bell. That way you won't miss any of our great videos. Let's make another point about military surplus rifles. They are versatile, and homesteaders are always looking for versatility. And the military surplus rifle is just that. First of all, since it was originally a service rifle, it is perfect for defense, so it will fill your defensive needs quite well. And the other side is they are usually very good for hunting, and that's usually what we want in our rifles as a homesteader. We want something that can defend the homestead and also provide food for the homestead. And these rifles are usually very good at doing that because more often than not, they are chambered in some pretty good cartridges that are very good for hunting. Another fantastic attribute of a MIL-SURP for the homesteader is these guns tend to fly under the radar pretty well. They don't look scary, quite frankly. They look like a normal hunting type of gun that, you know, the uninitiated will look at and just go, oh, it's just a gun with a wooden stock and a blued barrel, and you know, who cares about that? It doesn't have a pistol grip, and it's not sprouting all sorts of appendages, and it's not made with black plastic or painted, you know, flat dark earth and camo and all this other stuff. They're really low key, and that's a really good thing sometimes. And lastly, but certainly not least, MIL-SURPs are just plain cool. There is nothing like holding a piece of history in your hands. They're just plain cool, and they're fun to shoot. They're fun to shoot. They're challenging to shoot, especially with the iron sights. Alrighty then, I'm going to run down my A-list of MIL-SURP rifles for homesteaders for you right now. One thing though, if you don't mind, we could use your support at the channel. We do have a Patreon, the link's down in the description. Go show us a little love there. We'd really appreciate your help. And if you want more content and a chance to get some really great merchandise, go over to our website, LocaCarnivore.com. Again, the link is in the description, and we'd appreciate you visiting us over there as well. Now let's get into it. Now these are in no particular order. However, of the group I'm going to discuss at the end of the video, like I said, I'm going to give you my choice, my favorite choice, what I think is overall the best one. First out of the gate, the tried and true Russian Mosin Nagant 1895. Now this gun is chambered in 7.62 by 54R, and the R does not stand for Russian, it stands for rimmed, so get over it. Moving on, that it was used through World War I and World War II, and even it was dispersed across the world. You can still find them in Afghanistan and Southeast Asia. Anywhere the Russian and the later Soviet footprint happened to fall, these Nagants are all over the place like a rash. And they're actually a pretty good rifle. I mean, they're durable as heck. They're designed and have been used in the harshest environment. And it's tough and it's durable. And the 7.62 by 54R cartridge is quite good, especially out of that super long Nagant barrel. We're going to talk about that in a second, come back to that. But out of that super long barrel that it has, the velocity and everything, it hits just above what a 308 or 7.62 NATO would hit. Terrific hunting round. And the ammo is quite plentiful all over the place, even in the United States. Now, the downsides of the Nagant, there are many. It's kind of got a cult-like following, which is maybe, in my opinion, it's undeserved, but there's people out there that just swear by these things. Now, that Nagant, the downsides on the Nagant, it is super stupid long unless you get the Carbine version, and the Carbine version has its own problems. Basically, the muzzle flash from this thing, when you set off that round that was designed to burn its powder through that huge long barrel of the regular 1895 rifle, but you set it off in a barrel that's several inches shorter, you get this enormous flame. I mean, it's multi-feet out from the muzzle, and the muzzle blast itself, and the sound is just deafening. You just running this thing without ear protection is insane. Now, the bolts on these things, in my experience, every one I've ever picked up for the most part, super stiff, almost to the point of being stubborn. You almost have to take a 2-pound sledgehammer and knock the bolt open, and the triggers are absolutely dreadful. There are ways to put optics on this thing and everything. There's actually a pretty decent little aftermarket cottage industry out there that services these things. So something you might want to think about. That Nagant, while it's big and it's long and it's cumbersome, it will get the job done. Next, a perennial favorite and an absolute classic, the M1903 Springfield. Chambered in .30-06. This was the U.S. service rifle until it was officially replaced by the M1 Garand in the mid to late 1930s. And it still served in World War I, World War II, and was used all the way even into Vietnam as a sniper weapon and a designated marksman rifle. So this thing has been around the block, and it fires that absolutely gold standard .30-06 cartridge. Trouble with the 1903 Springfields is they're getting spendy. They have become collector items, especially if it was one that was built during World War I. There's always been a quip out there about World War I bolt-action rifles, and that is that the Americans with the 1900 Springfield brought a target rifle to war, which hints at its accuracy. Superb sights, probably the best sights ever put on a service rifle on that 1903 Springfield. In its essence, it's an 1898 Mauser, so it does have all that going for it, and anything that'll fit on a Mauser, triggers, scope, mounts, etc., will fit on a Springfield. So really good possible choice there for you is that 1903 Springfield. All right, one of my all-time favorites is the Lee Enfield, also known as the SMLE, short magazine Lee Enfield rifle. Now the SMLE is its own unique thing, and then there's the later versions like the number 4s and the number 5s and all those. And the Enfield people are just awash in the little details of it. It's another cult gun, but it is really a good rifle. This was introduced in various forms in the late 19th century and adopted by the British military and used during World War I and World War II, and the British forces were carrying this in Korea. You can still find Enfields in Afghanistan and India, and again in Africa. Again, anywhere the British Empire set its feet, the Enfield followed, and it stayed. So it is a widely dispersed rifle, and there's a ton of them out there. There was a gazillion produced, and there's plenty of them out there. Some in good nicks, some are in absolute trash. Again, if you stay away from the collector ones, especially like the World War I guns, the prices are still relatively reasonable. Now the Enfields chamber the .303 British round with good sights on it. The SMLEs have the sights out the rear sight forward of the breech, and so you've got that shorter radius given the the barrel and all that, as opposed to putting it back on the receiver ring. However, if you get into the number 4, basically the ones that was adopted right at the beginning of World War II roughly, those have the sight back on the receiver bridge. But that .303 British, fantastic round. Again, ballistics are similar to a .308, superb hunting round. The Enfield is the fastest running bolt action you will ever find. And British soldiers trained to do what was called the Mad Minute, which is a exercise in rapid aimed fire. And they could achieve some really impressive fire volumes. The triggers are garbage, of course, out of the box. Not as bad as the Nagant, but they're pretty bad. All right, no discussion of military surplus rifles will be complete without the M1898 or M98 Mauser bolt action. This is the granddaddy. This is probably, arguably, no, it's not arguably, this is the best design bolt action rifle ever produced. And it's just superb. It is rugged, it will run no matter what. Really good gun. And what to look for in an M98 Mauser? Well, I like the Carbine version is the best, like the KAR 98K, which is the Carabiner 98K, which K stands for Kurz, which is short in German. and it was just the shortened version of the M98. The one used in World War I and originally issued in '98 is quite long, kind of like the Nagant, but not as bad. So it's a little on the unwieldy side, and the sights are out on the forward of the breech face. All of the Mausers generally have the sights out there, unfortunately. And there are a lot of clones of the KAR-98K, like the Yugo M24 and the Czech M48. And these things were produced around the world. Now, most of the Mausers you're going to run into, the 98 Mausers, are chambered in the German service cartridge, which was a 7.92 by 57, technically, also referred to as the 8mm Mauser or the 8 by 57, but the 7.92 by 57mm round. And it is, in my opinion, easily the equivalent of the 30-06. And inside 400 meters or so, it, in my opinion, is superior to the 30-06. I'm going to get a lot of hate mail from the 30-06 people, so be it. This cartridge is really good. 196 grain bullet, traveling a really good pace if you get European spec ammunition. That's the thing with this gun. The American stuff is downloaded, so it's ballistically equivalent to about a 30-30 or so. Great deer round for up close, but if you get the European ammo or load it yourself to European specs, that's where this gun really shines. And like I said, they're quite reliable and they're very accurate. Almost all the Mausers out there are generally quite accurate. So it's a great gun. Can't say enough about it. Now, another gun to mention is all of these Swiss straight pull variants. There's quite a few of them out there. But very quickly, any of the Swiss rifles, the straight pull rifles, they're fantastic. They are made like a Swiss watch, and they are just impeccable guns. Really nice triggers, fantastic workmanship, and the 7.5 Swiss cartridge is again in that 308, just bordering on 30-06 kind of level of power. So it's a fantastic cartridge. They're super accurate. And they're generally fairly affordable. So if you find a nice one, I would definitely go for it. The ammo is a little more difficult to get a hold of, but you can get a set of dies and load for it. You won't go wrong with a Swiss straight pull. Now we've talked about the British and the Russians and the Americans and everything, and even the Swiss. We can't leave the French out of this. Oh, no, no, no. The ones I'm thinking of that are better for homesteaders are the Moss series. Those guns were made during the interwar period to replace Lulabelle, and before they got into semi-automatics after World War II. So they're in that interwar period. Really good workmanship, really nice rifles, stout. They are, I just can't say enough about them. They're chambered in sort of an offbeat cartridge, so finding ammo can be a little difficult. But again, if you're either willing to load for it or hunt down the ammo, hard to go wrong with those interwar French bolt actions. Really good guns. One gun that I have to put on this list is the M1 carbine, the American M1 carbine. Now, I'm not a super big fan of this gun. I think they're real cool. If you want something that's really short and lightweight and handy, like to, put on the four-wheeler or something like that, or carry on horseback or something, or you just want a gun that isn't a big pain to carry around, the carbine's really nice. Ammo is getting a little sketchy to find, at least it was during the ammo shortage a few years ago. But the stocks are starting to come back, but it can be difficult to find the ammo. Hard to find hunting ammo for it, and I really can't recommend it for anything maybe above white-tailed deer, and that's at close range. And if you can get a reliable one, then you're in good shape. It's a really nice little gun to have around. Perfect for pest control and a superb defense gun, so don't discount that M1 carbine. And speaking of the M1 carbine, how about its big brother, the M1 Garand? This is a fantastic gun. I've already talked about it in other videos about guns for homesteading and whatnot. Go check out all those. I'll probably put them at a link at the end of the video. I'll put one up for you. But a fantastic gun, very versatile. What can you say? The thing basically helped win World War II. It fought in Korea. It was used in Vietnam. It was issued to a lot of indigenous troops in Vietnam and Southeast Asia. And it's still out there and kicking. Prices have gone up, but you can still get them even directly from the federal government, if you can believe that, through the Division of Civilian Marksmanship, if they're still available. Prices are going up, but if you can find one in decent nick, you're not going to go wrong with an M1 Garand. You do have to, and it's chambered in 30-06, I need to mention that, which is what makes it such a fantastic and versatile gun. Now, you do have to be a little careful. I would not put super hot, heavyweight bullet, modern hunting ammunition in a Garand. You could damage the action and make sure you're getting ammunition that is designed or at least within the range of what's acceptable for the Garand. Now, on the upside, fantastic sights. Arguably the best rear sight assembly ever put on a service rifle. It's got a nice long sight radius, and you get that ping at the end of the 8th round when it tosses the end block clip out of the magazine area. So it's a fantastic gun. They are super fun, and like I said, very versatile, and fantastic self-defense gun. I mean, what can you say? It will do the job. It is difficult to scope, though. If you want to put a optic on this thing, you're going to fight an uphill battle putting an optic on a Garand, because that clip has to go in through the top and then get spat out after the rounds are done. So you can't put a scope on top of the gun. It has to be offset to the side, which creates a whole new set of problems. But you could maybe put a red dot out front or something, you know, think about it. But again, just as it is, it's such a superb gun, you probably don't even have to go to that route. So M1 Garand. Now I'm going to bring up two other guns that a lot of people might not consider military surplus. They don't sort of fit the classic definition. Well, one is sort of, but it's still modern. It's still being produced. That's the thing. Both of these are still being produced. So you can't call them fully retired, you know, fully surplus, and they're not really being surplused out. But I want to put them on the list because I think they're so versatile and they're such a good choice for homesteading, and they're in this overall genre. And the first would be the AK design, whether it's the AK-47, the AKM, AK-74, whatever it might be. There's a whole world out there of AKs as far as variations and who they're produced by and all that. I'm not going to get into that, but suffice it to say the AK is a versatile gun, and it can be a little sketchy on getting an optic on it, but there are ways around that, and there's a good aftermarket support system. They have gotten stupid expensive anymore compared to what you could, you can buy an equivalent AR, and in fact a better quality AR, for the price of what new AKs are going for these days. So the value equation there has, I'll admit, has slipped quite a bit. So, but it's in 7.62 by 39, which is a good cartridge, great self-defense cartridge, and it's adequate with a hunting load on deer-sized animals out to, say, maybe about 200 yards or so. So it's a very good cartridge. And I would also mention its other brother, its predecessor, the SKS. And the SKS, the prices have been going up on those, but it's still less expensive than the AK. And I would argue, in many ways, the SKS is a better gun than the AK. And here comes the hate mail again. So you might want to think about the SKS. So the AK and the SKS, both chambered 7.62 by 39, really good choices for homesteading guns. Now yes, I said I was two different guns, and then I said the AK and the SKS. Those aren't, I put them kind of together because they're so similar in, their origin point, their cartridge and everything. But the other one that I would add to this list is the M1A, which is the civilian version, the semi-automatic only version of the SelectFire M14, which has the dubious distinction of being the shortest lived service rifle, mainline service rifle ever adopted by the U.S. Armed Forces. It didn't last very long, but it's still being used. It's still a very good design. It just isn't considered, it's not the front line weapon. It's a specialist weapon now for DMR work and that sort of thing. But the M1A, and yeah, they're stupid expensive. I will tell you right now, they don't fit the value equation that the value proposition that I stated at the beginning of the video, but it's such a good gun. Lots of aftermarket support, plenty of things you can do with this, but they're chambered in 308, 7.62 by 51, which is an outstanding round for hunting. So the M1A, I just had to put it on the list. It's just such a superb choice. All right, so out of this big list of MIL-SURP guns, what's the one I would choose? I have to pick the Mauser every single time. I love the Enfield. I love all these other guns. It's really hard to single one out necessarily, but the Mauser to me still stands head and shoulders above all these other guns, all these other military surplus guns. It has the most rugged action. It has the strongest action, has that controlled round feed, and they're accurate. They're simple to take apart. You can strip them down completely, almost everything apart, and put it back together in the field with no special tools, and just keep it clean. It will run and run and run. They're just fantastic guns. I just can't say enough about them. And that 8mm Mauser cartridge, that's 7.92 by 57, is a fantastic cartridge. It's one of the all-time greats. You can't go wrong with a 98 Mauser. Well, that's it. MIL-SURP rifles for homesteading. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hope it was useful for you. We want to thank you for spending your valuable time with us today. Thanks for watching.